The Texas energy sector taking a big hit. Tens of thousands of oil and gas jobs gone after coronavirus kills demand for Texas crude. But how are jobs affected in the Brazos Valley? Our Hallie Jones investigates.
The oil and gas industry is what fuels Texas.
The oil and gas industry colors everything in Texas.
2020 was seen to be one of the hardest years for the economic driver. A recent report from the Texas Alliance of Energy Producers says Texas lost nearly 60,000 oil and gas jobs last year alone.
The 60,000 jobs lost are mainly field jobs. We've laid down more than 100 rigs. Each rig accounts for 100 workers plus everybody who supports them. And so these are direct high-paying jobs in the oil patch, out in the fields, operating, drilling, managing our oil production.
The obvious factor for the cause of thousands of jobs lost is, of course, the global pandemic, coupled with the plummeting demand of crude oil throughout the last year.
It's the low-cost producers that can start a price war, that can really hammer those of us in Texas. And that's what they were doing in January and February. And then when you think it couldn't get any worse, the pandemic hits.
Experts say while 2020 was a horrific year for the oil and gas industry, the problem goes beyond the last year, back nearly a decade.
It's just not 2020. If we look at the return on capital that oil and gas has delivered to the market, it's awful. Over the last 10 years, of all the different industrial sectors in the Standard & Poor's 500, oil and gas has delivered roughly zero.
In an interview with 25 News last week, Senator John Cornyn says with a new administration in the White House, President Biden's decision to stop the construction of the Keystone Pipeline is devastating for an economy already crippled by the global pandemic.
I think this is largely symbolic. But it really is not symbolic to people who are losing their jobs.
However, Texas's oil and gas industry appears to be slowly recovering. As of Friday, crude is trading at $56.82 a barrel, a trend in the right direction that began shortly after the rollout of the coronavirus vaccine. Experts saying it's still too difficult to determine if we'll see those 60,000 jobs lost return to the Lone Star State.
Not only do we need the world economy to rebound from the pandemic recession, but we need OPEC to allow the price of oil to increase to the level where these plays in Texas and in the Bakken and in Colorado and Wyoming become economic again. If OPEC wants an $80 a barrel price, we'll see those jobs come back. If OPEC wants a $40 a barrel price, we won't see any new jobs returning to the oil patch.
Texas represents about 44% of the U.S. crude production. Reporting in Bryan, Hallie Jones, 25 News.
So let's take a look at oil and gas production in the Brazos Valley tonight. Even though Texas Petro Index reports record losses in 2020 from lack of demand from COVID-19, as you can see, there are several wells operating tonight in the Brazos Valley. This map from the Texas Railroad Commission shows 78 production leases having over 360 drilled wells in the Brazos Valley. The TRC says right now the county has 10 producing operators, hundreds of thousands of barrels in crude each month, extracting hundreds of thousands of barrels.